This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and this is the Bluboo Maya. Really, that's the name, Bluboo, of the company. Not to be confused with Blue, B-L-U. This is B-L-U-B-O-O. All right, so the name doesn't translate well, but this is from a Chinese company, and it's $99. That's the list price on this Android 6.0 Marshmallow phone. So you're not even getting like the old OS like you usually do on really cheap phones. That's pretty cool. And it sells for about $89 on Amazon, even better. And you can get it in gold and you can get it in gray, silver, so there's a couple of color choices. This is an unlocked GSM phone. If you use Sprint or Verizon, unless you're just watching this for purely academic and entertainment reasons, there's no other reason because it's not going to work on Sprint or Verizon. It will work on AT&T. It's designed for AT&T primarily because it has 3G. Remember 3G, HSPA? On AT&T's 850 and 1900 megahertz bands. It's a quad-core GSM phone, so you'll get 2G and you'll get voice anywhere in the world. T-Mobile, sorry, there's no 1700 megahertz or 2100 megahertz band, so it's not a great choice because who wants to live with edge data speeds? We're talking like 20K data speeds. So you get 3G here. You don't get 4G LTE. Typically, on unlocked phones that are under $100, you don't, though. You have to spend like $150 or more if you want to get the 4G LTE. And let me tell you, going back to 3G is just not really much fun. Things are pretty slow. Even mobile sites are slow. So you have to be ready to live with that. But the upside is it's pretty cheap. 5.5-inch IPS display, big battery inside, pretty decent cameras, actually, in terms of the hardware. We're going to look at it now. The Maya runs Android 6 on the 1.3 GHz MediaTek MT6580A CPU with Mali 400 graphics. Mali 400 graphics, that was several generations ago. We saw that on the Samsung Galaxy S something or other phone, so it's still here. So low end in terms of computing power. It has 2 gigs of RAM and 16 gigs of internal storage, but there's a microSD card slot, so you can expand that. The display resolution is HD 720 by 1280, so you're not going to get any super high resolution display here, but that's adequate. Pretty good cameras on this too. We'll talk about those in depth a bit later, and the basics for wireless, i.e. you're not going to get NFC, but you will get Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. So the Maya comes with a charger and USB cable in the box, and that's about it, and a factory-installed screen protector. And on ours, they didn't do a very good job. You can see air bubbles in a couple of different places. There's a little hair over there. There's a piece of schmutz. So here's what we're going to do. It's very easy to take this off. You don't just really, have to futz with it a whole lot or anything, and just grab it like so, and then peel. It's gone. So let's look how it looks without the screen protector. It looks a little bit sharper. It looks a little bit clearer. We'll get rid of that piece of dirt. That's, oh no, it's under the glass. Uh-oh. Well, there's that. Let's hope that's not representative of the rest of the product on the market for this. It's running Marshmallow, Android 6.0. It's a pretty clean build. You've got slightly, enhanced looking icons there, whether you like it or not. Tap the apps button. You can see all of your apps right here. If you want to get to settings, it's your typical Marshmallow kind of stuff. If you want to see all settings, there they are. So the nice thing about this, there's no cutesy or cartoony UI. It's pretty clean, and it's going to help the phone run fast, which is important because that 1.3 gigahertz MediaTek CPU with Mali 400 graphics isn't the sharpest knife of the drawer, and that's fair. At this price range, you're not going to get some killer CPU. It's adequate to do everyday things. Look at your calendar, make phone calls, stream a little video, that sort of thing. We have single-band Wi-Fi 802.11n here with Bluetooth. There's no NFC at this price. You do have a GPS, though. And there's a very few specialized customizations. One of them is for the display. We have something called Mira Vision, and it says this will do nice things for your display, so we hit the hamburger menu there. So you can you can choose from different picture colors, and that's kind of like a rip-off of Samsung's UI for changing. We got standard mode, we have vivid mode, we have user mode, and we can adjust it. So we'll leave it in vivid mode. There's not a whole lot of difference in color saturation. This is a decent IPS HD, not full HD display, so it's 1280 by 720 pixel resolution. That's about 267 ppi. It's sharp enough that honestly, you're not going to have trouble seeing anything. So here we are on the CNN website, and it's clear enough to read, certainly, and we're just using 3G now. We don't have Wi-Fi turned on, and this is their mobile site, and you can see how long it takes an article to load. Some assets are obviously cached, the top graphic and all that sort of thing. It takes a while for the pictures to load. It can be a little bit slow, and while it's loading, it seems to stall just even scrolling a little bit, but once you give it a web page time to load, it's okay. Life in 3G land is just a little bit, you know, we've had 4G LTE for several years here now, so it'd probably take a little getting used to. So if you're a power user, if you're online all the time, you might find it a little bit annoying. It's not going to be sufficient speed to stream video, but I think most people want to do that over Wi-Fi. And on Wi-Fi, things are better. And now we're connected to Wi-Fi, so let's load another page. And again, a lot of the assets, as they're called, will be preloaded at this point because they're used on every page pretty much of the website. Still not as fast as we would like. That's because the CPU is struggling a little bit to do the rendering. That's decently usable on Wi-Fi. It's certainly better than using the 3G connection there, and yeah. Navigating around the rest of the UI is absolutely fine. This is not going to be for heavy-duty gaming, 3D gaming, that sort of thing, obviously, but be fair, it's the price, you know. You're not going to get the fastest thing in the world, but you're going to get something that does the basics okay. Now, it is IP63 rated for water and dust resistance. What does that mean? We've seen 67 and 68. Well, the first number means the dust or debris resistance. So that's the same as other phones like the Samsung Galaxy phones that we've seen that are IP68 rated. That means it's rated for dust intrusion. 3 for the second number means you can't immerse this in water. Do not immerse this in water. Do not spray jets of strong water at it, but you can splash it, and it should be okay. And to that end, it's actually quite hard to get the back cover off. The reason why it's hard to get off, we assume, is for that sealing. So it's a little, you got to really work your way around. There are so many tabs here, but you'll be rewarded once you see what's inside. So lots and lots of tabs compared to your average phone, and again, they're trying to keep that sealed. The bad news is yanking on it. You see this, what happened right over here? This is actually the plastic of the inside is pulling away from the frame. So we'll snap that back into place. There you go. We have a 3,000 milliamp battery that is removable. That's nice to see. You don't have so many phones with removable batteries. And typical of unlocked phones and more popular outside the US than in the US, this is a dual SIM phone. So you could have an AT&T SIM and a Metro PCS SIM or a T-Mobile SIM and so on. Mix and match, doesn't have to be the same carrier. So one is a micro SIM. So we have a little adapter here because I'm using a nano SIM with it, and the other is a full-size SIM card slot. And as you can see from the symbol here, this is a stacked slot. The second one, you can put in a micro SD card, so you can actually expand the 16 gigs of internal storage. Looking at the inside of the phone, there's nothing too exciting to see here. The down-firing speaker slots through a hole over here, and we have some stickers on some sections just to mark what they are. That's sticking up a little bit. Don't worry, it's not the plastic itself. It's just a sticker on top. So pretty much your normal phone held together with a lot of little teeny Phillips head screws. It's probably relatively serviceable as phones go, in fact. The back of the phone has a kind of diamond pattern on it with, they call it fence grain. I don't really see that at all, but take it for what it's worth. It's an interesting looking back, and it really resists fingerprints, which is quite nice. Here we have a 13 megapixel camera. It's using a Sony sensor, so that's actually pretty decent hardware. You have your LED flash there. We have an 8 megapixel front camera with all sorts of selfie software, which seems to be more popular in China than it is here. We have beauty face. We have some semi-creepy effects you can add and all that sort of thing, but overall, we're pretty happy with the fact that we get a decent camera for the price, and we'll get our usual bath toy here in and uncover the camera lens, and there it is. It's not the fastest to shoot, that's for sure. The shutter speed's not that fast. There's a little delay there. HDR, if you turn that on, will slow things down more, but that's really because the MediaTek CPU and Mali 400 graphics are doing a little bit of, well, heavy lifting that's beyond them. That's how long it took right there to shoot an HDR photograph. But the good news is that you actually get fairly decent pictures there. So it's not so bad. Not the fastest camera in the world, but it's adequate. Call quality on the phone is decent, actually. We tested it on AT&T since that's really the intended or most compatible carrier in the United States for this, and it was intelligible audio, not the, my gosh, the best I've ever heard full and rich, but not really bad at all. And here's an example of data speeds, our 2 recent speed tests that we did right here. on AT&T's 3G HSPA network. So not going to set anybody on fire, but you know, better than nothing certainly, and better than 2G. Given the pretty tame CPU here, you'd expect pretty good battery life, especially with only a 720p display, though it is 5.5 inches, so you got a big piece of glass that you're driving here. A battery life from the removable 3000 milliamp battery is okay. It actually wasn't that great. I was surprised. I suspect that they are still doing firmware updates for this. Maybe there'll be some further power optimizations. It lasts through the day, but honestly, something with this CPU and this screen resolution, and without Wi-Fi, it's 11 AC, which is a bigger power consumer, and without LTE, I would expect this to last like at least 2 days on a charge with moderate use, but it's more like, you know, it makes it through the day. The phone has 2 gigs of RAM, 16 gigs of internal storage, and the MediaTek CPU with Mali graphics, Mali 400. That's kind of old stuff there. It doesn't benchmark too high. You can see this is our 3D Mark test result right here for the iStorm Unlimited test, and quadrant 5412, which is as slow as 1/10 of the very fastest phones on the market. Geekbench 345 for the single core, 1116 for the multi-core. For the top end phones, the single core score is sometimes as high as 1,000. So you get the idea there, but again, let's be fair, this is $89 on Amazon. So yeah, it's not gonna light a fire under you with blazing speed. Again, it's the phone that you make do with because it's what you can afford, or you're replacing something before you pick out your for sure keeper phone after you've dunked the previous one in the pool by accident. You get the idea. Or it's a starter phone for somebody in your family who hasn't used a smartphone before. So that's the Bluboo Maya. Again, you can find it on Amazon, and if you really just need a phone to tide you over, 99 bucks, it's your first smartphone, that sort of thing, you just don't have a whole lot of money to spend, and you need it to be unlocked, and particularly if you're on AT&T, because that's where you're at least going to get 3G, then it makes some sense. If you don't need the unlocked phone feature, that is, you can pop in any carrier's SIM or SIMs inside, since it's a dual SIM phone, to at least get voice and 2G data. Well, if you don't need that feature particularly, then I would suggest one of the prepaid kind of phones you can get from AT&T or T-Mobile, Metro PCS, whoever your carrier is, instead, because you're going to at least get 4G LTE, and there are even some kind of decent phones around $100, full retail price from them. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more cool tech videos.